All right, Pat. So we're going to talk about a prospect who initially coming into this draft was expected to be, I think, top 10, top 12 at the latest. I
Mhm.
just checked before we actually started. There are now 10 at least mock drafts that have him going 16th or 15th to the Charlotte Hornets. So maybe it is the 16th pick. I don't remember.
I think 15th for Charlotte.
15th. Okay, 15th. Is there a possibility that the Chicago Bulls either move up or maybe we do see Jalen Duren, a player that people can't coming into this draft thought there was no way that he could fall to the Chicago Bulls. Now, EJ Liddell and Tari Eason are the most common in mock drafts going to the Bulls. What do
Mhm.
you think about the chance that a player like Jalen Duren falls to the Bulls?
I guess my only question is why is he falling, right? Like
Mhm.
he doesn't have the same things attached to him that EJ Liddell and other guys do, right? He's 18 years old. EJ Liddell is literally just
He's a.
8.
I think Jalen Duren is literally the youngest player in the draft.
Yeah, he's 18 years old. He's a 12 and 8 guy, 59% around a rim. Most of his offense does come around the rim. Just about all of his offense comes around the rim, which is
Mhm.
fine, right? Like okay, he's a traditional big man, and maybe that's the reason that he's falling. He's still a guy who to me projects to be a prolific shot blocker in the NBA.
Mhm.
Watching his tape when he was on the chase down, dog, like he was chasing people down like they were at the bucket making a layup, and he's like at the free throw line catching it off the glass. Like he's super athletic, super quick, runs the floor very well. On the offensive side, you're talking about a guy. What I saw in him was a dude that ran the floor similar to a small forward, but jumped like how Daniel Gafford did on alley oops, except he's 6'11, where Daniel
Yeah.
Gafford's like 6'9.
It he's so Jalen Duren reminds me of a mix between the physicality of an Andre Drummond, but with the athleticism of a JaVale McGee in his prime.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. That's not bad. Like, and so I don't know why he's falling all of a sudden, right? Like, is Mark Williams moving up in these?
Mark Williams is moving down too. He's
I-
moving down. They're both, and I think what it is,
exactly.
I think what I think what we're seeing is that maybe the question about how their offensive game, because keep in mind, Jalen Duren has no back to the basket game, no mid range game to be set up right now. It's primarily in the NBA. He's gonna get you blocks, he's gonna get you rebounds, he's gonna
He's
do all
gonna
that
catch a lot.
athletic thing, but he's going to live off fast breaks, lobs, and pick and rolls, and somebody who can go over the top. So maybe what we're seeing is that those teams that are in the top. And keep in mind, there are a lot of teams in this draft too, as well, that have kind of high picks that aren't that far from actually competing. It's not like one of those times where a lot of the top teams are so far off that.
Yeah.
So maybe we're seeing that those teams are now projected to take maybe more polished players that don't have as much true upside, but that can help them contribute right now. Because when you look at like a team, Orlando, they're far off, right? Houston, they're far off.
Yeah.
Sacramento, they're far off. Detroit, not that far off.
Yeah.
Indiana, you can see Portland, they can make the right move that can get them right back to being in consideration. New Orleans, with Zion now being healthy again, maybe they do. We already know the Spurs are always ready to go and turn things around. So, and even Charlotte with their 2 lottery picks, they're not really, may not view themselves as being far off. So maybe we're seeing those type of teams. Cleveland as well, another team above us. Maybe we're seeing those teams maybe take some of these older prospects that are sophomore, juniors, rather than go with somebody who's so raw like a Jalen Duren.
It's still interesting to me, right? Because like even like in Houston, it would seem like he's the perfect kind of player for you. Maybe a little high for Jalen Durham, but
Mm.
I would feel like he's the perfect kind of player for you, right? Youngest player in the draft. He's gonna run the floor with Jalen Green in the mugs. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
he's quick, he's athletic, he's a great rebounder. I think he projects to be a nice player off of the pick and pop as well in the mid range. I don't think he's going to be great, right? But he'll
Mhm.
be somebody who can turn that into a threat. Um, I don't know. I don't know if the Bulls will get him. I'll ask you this though, right? Are we seeing how the NBA feels, no matter where you're slated, how talented you are, about that kind of big man now? Are
I
we
think
seeing
that's
that
what we're
the NBA
seeing.
is just like, I don't want it, even if it is going to come in and give me solid production? good production, even great production. It's not the kind of player I want.
I think what we're seeing is that the NBA is prioritizing guards over big men. If you're going to go with high upside, right? Because you can go with a raw guard, and that guard can still, even if they don't turn into a 16, 18 point per game score, they can turn into a solid defender that gets you about 11 points per game. And you don't have to worry about the big man who you have no idea of what their offense is going to look like on the NBA level. I think that's what we're seeing. And looking at a lot of the mocks, there are a ton of guards and wings that are going high up, whereas the big men are falling.
It's so weird to me too because it's like I think the thing about it, right? Like I take Kobe White into account, whether Kobe White
Mhm.
becomes this great player that Bulls fans hope he is or not. And I think everybody wants Kobe White to be successful, but
Yeah.
if Kobe White can't knock down a shot, Kobe White can't be in the NBA. There's no use for him. He's not that great of a facilitator yet. He's not that great of a defender yet. If he's not knocking down a shot, if he's not finding a way to get himself going offensively, there really is no use for him on the floor. Whereas with a big man, right? Like Tony Bradley was pretty useless, but in a 10-game stretch, we found a use for him.
Hmm.
Tony, just be tall, grab rebounds, pass the ball away. Don't do nothing. Be tall, grab rebound. And so it's so weird to me to see like a Jalen Duren, right? He's 18 years old. He seems like he's gonna have this high upside as a big shot blocker, second chance kind of player. Apparently that's 200 million for Rudy Gobert. And maybe Rudy Gobert is the one that killed it, right? Maybe they were like, they paid that man 200 million. We're not getting bigs like that no more. You gotta pay that 200 million. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what killed it, right? So I'm very confused on it. I get that there's some things that he has to improve on, right? Like finishing
Hmm.
around the rim, not great when finishing with the layup instead of just dunking it. Definitely needs to improve on shooting. Definitely needs to improve on a little bit of his court vision and a little bit defensively, right? He's a good, I'm gonna go up and get it block guy. He's not a good just face up, I'm
Yeah.
gonna stay in front of you defensive guy. But again, right, like 6'11 and 18, I don't know how he's falling like this. Like maybe it is, like you said, just the change of the NBA.
Yeah. I mean, hey, and then we still don't know what deals are going to happen. Like, I think this draft is going to go. Whereas for a while there, it looked like, hey, you kind of know within like a 2 to 3 pick range on where most of these players are going.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be wild a night, and this is why we may see no serious. And again, this is where AK and Eversley may be being highly intelligent and be ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
We're seeing maybe they do move back, and they still get the guy that we thought that they would have had to move up for by moving back.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you this before we end this part of the segment. As of right now, and it could change over the course of the next. The draft is in at this point while this is recording 3 days away. Who right now do you think the Bulls are drafting? If you had to bet your money on not if they're going to keep it or not, if they keep the pick,
Dang it, you set up. No.
who you putting your money on? See how I know
uh,
you. See, I know you had to throw that caveat
yeah,
in there. I
I mean,
know
I was definitely about to say I don't
you.
think they draft nobody. I think they traded. Um, if they had to draft somebody right now, you know what? I would say I would rather see them go with EJ Liddell, but seeing what the Bulls needed size wise and moving forward, knowing kind of like, listen, I think no matter what, Marco's never going to turn into whether he becomes a great player or not, he's
Mhm.
never going to be a great defender. I just, you didn't see it with him overseas. I doubt you'll see it with him here. He's all of a sudden going to develop these defensive instincts. I think it would be tough for AK, especially if he's looking long term, to pass on Mark Williams if indeed Mark Williams does fall. Um, Again, not the pick I would make. I would love to see an EJ Liddell there because I think EJ Liddell can give you some help while you're in this run
Mhm.
and moving forward throughout the duration of Zach's contract, Patrick Williams developing, all of that stuff. But I think it's going to be tough for him to pass on one of those big guys that if you have to eventually put him in next to Vooch or in next to Marko Simonovic, that is just a defensive guy. And
Yeah.
so I think there's going to be a couple of those guys that fall down there. So I think either Jalen Duren or Mark Williams could be that name. Again, a Walker Kessler's one that you might see him go with there.
Mhm.
But I think he's probably going to go with one of the younger shot blocking big men.
So, I've been high on EJ Liddell. I do think he'd be the one that I bet my money on is the pick because he checks so many things that the Bulls need right now, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, somebody who can come in and play a role for you right now. But I tell you what, bro, I read this thing that there was a workout with Tari Eason
I
and
did
he
see
was
that.
draining threes. And that was something you didn't see. So if Tari Eason could develop a 3-point shot,
Hey, he better be draining like 100 of them, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. You gotta
bro.
prove you gotta prove to me that this ain't just a day, my boy.
Yeah, he just didn't have a high day. But yeah, I definitely put my money right now on EJ Liddell. But if a Jalen Duren, a Marco, if one of those guys fall to the Bulls,
Bro,
you
think
have to
about
take them at that point. And you know what? Even try to make a deal if you still want EJ Liddell. Try to make a deal to move down in the draft. See what you can get for some of these other players. But you kind of have to roll the dice on one of those because
I think
they
I
go
think
ahead.
that's the wild thing, bro. Like you think about that. Like think about the guys we're talking about.
Yeah.
Not even everybody says like back in the 90s. No, like 10 years ago, 2010s, right? Like these are top 5 picks. This would be a great draft. This would be a star-studded draft because of how many big shot blocking bigs there are coming out of it with offensive upside. That's crazy how far we are from the NBA. Tari Eason's going to go 18th possibly. EJ Liddell, Walker Kessler.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.